Hi everyone, this is part 2 where we're going to go over step number 7 in the accounting cycle. In step number 7 of the accounting cycle, we're taking the items from our completed journal where we put in our adjusting entries, our closing entries onto the journal, and now posting them to the general ledger. We'll be using two documents for this tutorial where we'll be using the post ref of the journal, and we'll be using the general ledger to document the postings that are going on for each of the different accounts. As we've done in using the general ledger before, we start off with the journal with our first entry. And we're using this as a reference for where each of these amounts should be going. So our first item is to take care of supplies expense. Supplies expense is debited in our journal for $1,500. Therefore, on our general ledger, we're going to go scroll down to supplies expense. We're going to put the date. We're going to mark that this is an adjusting entry, and we can say supplies, the page number of the journal where we found this, and debiting for $1,500. Because we have now posted this amount, we can go back to our journal and put the account number 540 into our journal page. Let's now go to supplies and do the same thing for supplies. We're going to scroll up to where it says supplies. We're going to say 30th. This is an adjusting entry for supplies. It's on page 4 of our journal, and it's a credit for $1,500, which leaves us with $690 as our balance. Remember, if we have a debit, then a credit, and a debit balance, it subtracts. And the remaining is on that debit balance side. You can also check your numbers by going to the worksheet and the balance sheet to see what should be your ending balance for that account. Let's go ahead and do the rest for our insurance expense and prepaid insurance. So I'm going to go find my insurance expense, mark the date, adjusting entry, prepaid insurance, page 4, debit for $175, $175 is our amount for our balance. And this is because we had no previous balance for this account. Now I'm ready to go up to prepaid insurance and do the same thing. Now, I will tell you that you do not have to put the item in there. I like doing the item because it lets me know where and what is happening for this account. It's just more information for me as a user. So then I'm going to go to my journal. I'm going to put 520 because I posted the insurance expense, and 150 because I posted the prepaid insurance. And that's how to do your adjusting entries to the general ledger. Let's go on and do the adjusting entries for the closing entries now, where we closed out sales, expenses, net loss, and drawing for our accounts. So, starting with sales. Let's go to our general ledger, and we're going to find the sales account. And here's our sales account. And I like to put, again, closing entry. This is sales. This is page 4, and it's a debit for $4,596. Now, because this is a debit and a credit and we're closing out an account, our balance will be 0. But a balance of 0 shows that an account is still open. So therefore, to show a closing account, we're going to place a line through the balance to show that this account is now closed. And we'll be using this line for all the accounts that we're closing out for today. And I like to make it nice and thick. That way you're able to see it. Okay. And if you're doing this in Excel, you can just go to Insert, Illustrations, Shapes, and then select the line. Once you select your line, you'll get another drawing tool that allows you to select the thickness for the item. All right, let's close out. We're also going to put in here the credit amount, which was for sales. This was on page 4. And this starts our balance on the credit side for our income summary account. And I always like to have dollar signs just because we're dealing with money in this accounting. All right, now I can put these two as being posted on my journal sheet. Let's go ahead and do our next one. We're closing out income summary and our advertising expense. So going to the general ledger. And this one is our date. We are closing entries. And this one is for expenses. It's page 4. And it's for $4,997 in the debit, which leaves me with an actual debit balance because my debit is more than my credit. Therefore, my balance is on the debit side. Okay. So now I'm going to close out all of my expenses. So we'll go here. Actually, I'm going to do a little bit of a shortcut where I'll copy and paste. I know that's what I'm saying here. 550 and close this out. The next one, doing the same thing. Credit, 175. And it's also closing out this account. Let's move on to all my other expenses. And here we go, closing out. And there we go. And then my last two that I'm closing out for this has to do with closing out my supplies and closing out the utilities expense. So here we go. And now I've closed out all of my expenses. Now don't forget to go back to your journal and you need to put each of these accounts as being posted and closed out. Okay, So now we posted up all of our entries for closing out sales and closing out all of our expenses. The next thing that we're going to do is we're going to close out also our net loss. So if we go to our general ledger, we're going to use capital to show the first part. So I'm going to go to John Mancini Capital, and I'm going to show that this account is a closing entry, and this is for my net loss. I like to put that down. And this amount is being debited for $401. Therefore, my balance for this account is now going to be $9,099. Now, once I've done this, all right, so now what we're going to do is we are going to make sure to have this amount. We're going to put it now into our income summary. So we're putting the 30th. This is our last entry for closing entry for our net loss, which actually helps us to close out our income summary. Because you'll notice here our balance was a debit, and now because we credited for $401 our net loss, it closes out income summary. So now we can put that we've done our posting for our net loss, like so. Our last thing that we need to do is close out our drawing account. So to do that, we're going to first go up here. We are going to show that we are closing out drawing, entry, drawing, and we're going to push, that's $500 onto our debits, which leaves us with $8,099. Oops, sorry, $859. And we are going to show that it's closing out, and I'm sorry the dates are wrong here. Credit for $500, and this now closes out our drawing. Don't forget to go back to your journal and show that these are now closed. And that's how to complete step 7 of posting to the general ledger. Thank you guys, and stay tuned for our last step in this accounting cycle.